Hi Bookworms, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. So today's video I'm talking to you about my TBR for a readathon I am participating in April. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. So hi, hello, how you doing? I'm filming this pretty early because we're still in March and yeah, we're still in March, but I wanted to film this, get it all done and sorted, so then I can just schedule it all up, and it's already done in April, so it means I don't have to do any actual filming. I can just knuckle down and read the books because I'm participating in 3 readathons for April, and I have a lot of book things that I want to read, and you know, so many books, not enough time. So yeah, I want to try and have certain films done and dusted film so that I can pretty much the beginning of April just knuckle down and reading. So the readathon I'm participating in is, well, there's 3. There's 2 that are Halloween inspired. So I've already filmed Spring Flingoween, which you will probably see after this video. But I'm participating in that, which is happening in the end of April, and then I'm participating in another Halloween themed readathon, which is Spooktober. It's a mini readathon and it's happening from the 3rd of April to the 9th of April, so it's not a lot of days. How many days is it? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, it's a week. Okay, it is a week. I thought it was less than that. So it's a week. That's alright. I can handle that. And basically this is hosted by Reading with Rylan. I'm not sure if I said her name right. If I butchered it, I'm so sorry. But basically there is 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 5 prompts. And it can be spooky books, it can be spooky thriller books, it can be spooky fantasy, spooky sci-fi, whatever you want to read. But I'm going to try and read some spooky horror field books, possibly some spooky thrillers. That's my plan. Now, I'm going to read the prompts. So the first prompt is read a book with an adaption, so whether it is a movie or a TV series adaptation. The second prompt is the shortest spooky book on your TBR. The third prompt is randomized, so that can be, you could either do a poll pick, you could do a number generator, you could get your pets to pick a book, like that sort of thing, or just ask your friends which book to read, you know, that kind of thing. As long as it's randomized and it's sort of thing, you could even do like pick a shelf and number it and go like that, or you know, make it some sort of randomized game kind of thing. So I'm actually for that going to be doing a poll pick. I'll get to that when we get to that prompt. The fourth prompt is read a favourite spooky author. That was the hardest prompt for me because I haven't really read that many horror spooky books yet, so I don't know who's my favourite author. So I was just like, oh, I don't know. But I decided to go with this particular author just because I have read one book by them. It's only one, but I absolutely loved that book. And I'm like, oh, I think the way he writes, I kind of think I will like all of his other books, and I do own a book by him that I've been wanting to read anyway. So this is sort of he's probably going to be my potential favourite, but I don't know because I haven't read that many to know which author is my favourite. And then lastly, it's a spooky book you've been putting off, which I knew which book that was going to be. That was so easy because it's a book I've had and I have been too scared to read, and I'm going to do it. So to start with the first prompt, it's read a spooky book with an adaption. Now, I don't know what book to choose. I have a selection and I'm not 100% sure which one I'm going through, but I am actually going to go book shopping. It's 23rd of March at the minute. I'm going to go book shopping on the following Thursday. So I think that's is it the 30th or the 29th? I can't remember what date it is, but next Thursday I'm going to go book shopping. I've been paid and I just want to go and get a few books that I've been really wanting to read. And so I'm going to use that book shopping to have a look at these books, or see if those books that I would like to see, if they're all there, then it's going to be a really hard decision. But if I can't find all of them, or I've just found 2, then it'll be like, you know, out of them. So just to go with the 4 that I am thinking about, and it all depends on whether it is in the bookshop or not. If none of them are in the bookshop, then that's going to be hilarious. But the first one is Fear Street, The Beginning by R.L. Stine. So this one, the Fear Street Beginning, is I think 4 books in one. And I was just like, do you know what? I want that book because there's like 4 books in that book, and I'm like, it saves me from actually having to buy the books separately. And there are a lot of Fear Street books. Like, this is a humongous series, so I quite like that. And I'll put up the book cover now. I really like the cover as well. It's just, it's bright and it doesn't seem spooky, but it's one of those book covers I think you're going to be like, oh, it's going to be fine, and you're not going to be fine. But that is also, there are some movie adaptations on there, and I've been wanting to watch them because one of the girls in it, one of the actresses, she was in oh my god, I can't remember what the TV series is called now. She was in this TV series, I will put it up here because I can't remember. And I love her. She's just a fantastic actress, and she's in the Fear Street films, so I just want to watch them purely because she's in it. So another option, which is the one I'm sort of, it's one of the books that I'm sort of going to because it has been a movie that I've wanted to watch. I actually saw this movie on Netflix, watched the trailer so many times, and I was like, oh, is this actually a book? And I had a look on Amazon, and it is, and I was like, oh. And I was sort of like, I want to watch it, but I kind of like watching, like, I like to read the books first, then the like adaptions to compare. I feel like if you watch the like adaptation and then read the book, it gets spoilt for you. So for that, it's Night Books by J.A. White. Now, I'm not 100% sure whether this is a middle grade or young adult. It kind of says both, but the age range is from 8 to 12. So I'm not sure whether it's sort of like a bit of both. Because when I actually looked up to see like there's what the subgenres, like, you know, what Amazon puts them under, and it had children's, and then there was a bit of young adults as well. So I'm like, okay. But I really like the trailer for this movie, and I'm there thinking, I think this will be good because I think it will be spooky, but I don't think it will be so scary enough that I cannot physically watch it properly, because I'm horrendous with horror movies these days, and I just think that might be a little bit nicer. But the trailer actually looks quite scary, so so I'm leaning to that because I do want to watch the adaptation. Like, to be honest, all of these, one of them I've already watched the adaptation to it, but the others I'm actually intrigued to watch the adaptation. Like, I'm sort of like, shall I, like when I vlog this readathon, I'm like, shall I read the book and then watch the adaptation and compare? Like, that would be fun, but we'll see. So that's an option. Another option is No One Gets Out Alive by Adam Neville. So this author is someone, I've got so many of his books on my Amazon wishlist because they sound really, really good. I've never read one though. But I feel like he might be someone I quite like. And I've looked at people's reviews, and they're saying he's like a fantastic horror and really good at doing like atmosphere, like creepy atmosphere, and just making you feel constantly on edge, and I quite like that in books. I actually watched the trailer last night of this movie, and I watched it, I was like, I don't know whether I can watch this. It's like sort of a haunted house, she's like all on her own, and then like there's like spooky things on there, and I'm just there thinking, oh, and it's one of those ones where I think it's like a psychological horror as well, and I'm just there thinking, oh, am I going to be extremely scared? Like, this movie probably be one that I would want to watch during the day rather than at night. But it does, the book sounds really good and the movie looks really good, and I'm like, ooh. And then lastly is a graphic novel, and it's October Faction Volume 1, which is by Steve Miles and Damien Worm. Now, I've watched the TV series, and literally, I can't remember how many episodes there were, but there weren't that many, and then it stopped. And I don't think they're ever going to do a new series. And I loved it. Like, it's not the best acting. It's not the best sort of, like, plot in some ways. But it was so cheesy, and it was so good, and there were some, like, spooky moments, and I just loved it. My dad watched it too. He was the one who recommended it to me, and I started watching it, and I binge watched it. I just loved it, and I wish there was more like episodes of it, like more seasons, because I thought it was fab, but it didn't get very good reviews in it. But there obviously is a graphic novel. There's loads of graphic novels for this, and I'm going to be totally honest, knowing there's actually graphic novels, I'm so tempted to see if I can get it secondhand, like World of Books or Depop or something like that, and get the whole series, because I loved it so much that I would happily read a graphic novel. So this is another one that I'm quite keen on, just because it's something I probably would buy anyway, and it's a graphic novel, so it'll be quicker, and there is 5 prompts. I'm also doing another readathon, and I'm doing a month-long readathon, so that option would be the easiest. But we'll see. Like I said, I want to see if I can find them at the bookstore. If I find all of them in the bookstore, then it's like, right, which one to choose. If I only find like one, then it's going to be that one, or if I find 2, then it's just between them. But yeah, so I will, when I get to editing this, I will put which book I have decided on. Like, editing me will say, this is what I'm actually going to be reading. But yeah, the next book is the shortest spooky book on my TBR, and for that I am going to be reading The Woods Are Always Watching by Stephanie Perkins. Now, I read her other book, There's Someone Inside Your House, and it's just like this sort of like neon theme, but it was pink, and it was like a staircase rather than this. It's got woods, and I absolutely love this book. Like, technically this book probably could fit with the favourite spooky author, because I absolutely loved There's Someone Inside Your House. And I also know with There's Someone Inside Your House, it's actually made into I'm not sure if it's a movie or a TV series, one of the two. And I was just like, I could do that, but I don't own a book anymore because I read it, and it's one of those books that I'd read once, but I couldn't read again just because I know what happens. So I was like, I could just get one from the library and do that. But then I was like, do you know what? No, I want to do something different. I don't want to do a reread. But I got kindly gifted this to me by Vicky, and it was basically, I swapped one of my books on Facebook, and so she got me something off on my wish list. So this is a short book. It is so it's 221 pages. And knowing how quickly I read There's Someone Inside Your House, I know this is going to be done in one sitting in like a couple of hours. I'm really excited for this because I'm not 100% sure whether this book is... Yeah, I think this book... Well, actually, I don't know. No, this book was actually out. This was first published in 2021. So I'm not sure whether this... So I don't know which book was first, whether There's Someone Inside Your House was first published in this, or whether they both published it. I don't know. But I'm really excited for this. I'm going to read what the synopsis is about. It says, there are predators in these woods. Best friends Nina and Josie. Oh, my best friend's called Josie, just spelt differently. Oh! Anyway, best friends Nina and Josie spent high school as outsiders, but at least they had each other. Now with university and a 2,000-mile separation looming on the horizon, they have one last chance to be together. A 3-day hike deep into the woods. A detour off trail leads them straight into a waking nightmare, and then into something far worse. Something that will test them in horrifying ways. Stephanie Perkins, the best-selling author of There's Someone Inside Your House, returns with a gut-wrenching novel about friendship, survival, and navigating unmarked paths even as evil watches from the shadows. I'm really excited from this. The Someone Inside Your House was very much like a slasher book, but in people's houses, and it was sort of the it was like he was taunting them as well with like missing things that they didn't notice until later and all that, and like the reason behind it was so stupid, but you can understand why. But it was so twisty, and it was really atmospheric because she wrote it in a way that you knew there was, like, you had that sense of foreboding. You knew something was going to happen, you just don't know when. And it was graphic. There was one scene in There's Someone Inside Your House where he cut open someone's head, got into their brain, and then stabbed their brain. It was so graphic. And then the person who was actually having that done, you got their narration because they were still sort of alive, and then all of a sudden it just went black. And I was just like, I was gobsmacked. I was like, that is gross. And also the fact that you had the person who was having this done still know what was going on because they were still with it until the final bit. And I was just like, oh. So I have a feeling like this is going to have that atmospheric creepiness, the sense of foreboding. I'm not 100% sure. I think her books are slasher books, which I do quite like. So yeah, I'm really excited for this. It's going to be short. I know I'm going to read this very quickly, and it's just a book I know I'm going to love. Then next, it's the Randomized, it's Pulp Pick. So for me, I did the Pulp Pick. So these are the books that I've done a poll to this stack. So we've got Silent Companions by Laura Purcell. We've got My Dark Self by Jessica Huntley. We've got The Jigsaw Man, I got like an arc, which is by Nadine Matheson. And then we have I Know What I Saw by Imran Mahmood. Mahmood, sorry, I've said that completely wrong. So I'm going to just read out what they're all about. I have put a poll up on my Bookstagram, so hopefully, you know, I'm going to give it a couple of hours and hopefully there will be some sort of like winner, hopefully. But I will, editing me will put which one won and which one I'm reading. So first up is The Silent Companions, and this is a different, very much a ghost story, haunted house kind of thing, and I'm really excited. This was featured on the BBC Radio 2 book club that they do on not sure, is it the TV series or this is just the one on the radio? I can't remember. I know there's a TV series which is to do with books and I absolutely love watching it. Anyway, let's tell you what it's about. It says, newly married, newly widowed Elsie is sent to set out her pregnancy at her late husband's crumbling country estate, The Bridge. With her new servants resentful and the local villagers actively hostile, Elsie only has her husband's awkward cousin for company, or so she thinks. For inside her new home lies a mysterious wooden figure, the Silent Companion, that bears an unsettling resemblance to Elsie herself. And this says, deliciously creepy. Laura Purcell has nailed it with a story that conjures up the woman in black, the turn of the screw, and Rebecca. It's like on here, it's like compulsive creepy. Purcell turns her screws with skill, a true page turner with a spine-tingling revelation every few pages. It's atmospheric, tense, full of creepy dread. I could only read this during the daylight hours. Really intense and unnerving, it still won't let me go. A brilliant unsettling debut, don't read just before bedtime. Like, a lot of people have said it's creepy. There's also like it made them feel claustrophobic and things like that. If I'm going to be totally honest, this is probably the one I would like to win, just because it does give me, like, it's a Victorian Gothic story. It's given me like probably a haunted house vibes, and I don't know, I saw someone recently talk about this too. I can't remember where. I don't know whether it was on BookTube or Bookstore or something, but I just remember someone saying this was really, really, it was a really good Gothic, spooky book. And yeah, I'm really wouldn't mind this one winning, but we'll see. They all sound really good. Next is Jessica Huntley, My Dark Self. So I read her first book for a tour, and I can't remember what it's called, so is it in here? Oh yeah, the first book I read was The Darkness Within Ourselves, which I read for a tour, and I loved it. Like, it was really creepy because there was someone inside her house, and I thought he was the baddie. Wasn't. And in fact, it was this person she was dating that became, like, who was a serial killer. Yeah, it was so good. It was so twisty. And it was a proper psychological thriller because you thought this and that, and then there was twist, and you're like, oh. It also got you quite angry at times. And so this is her second book, and this was actually on tour too, but I had stopped doing tours then. And I don't actually think, no, actually I think I did put my interest for this for a tour, but I never got a spot. But anyway, Jessica herself, I have spoken to her quite often on Bookstagram, and she was doing a giveaway, and I think it was to do with this book, and I think the first book and something else, I can't remember. I think it was another author's book, and the other two books were books that I had already read. So I was like, this, and you could choose which book you wanted. So this was the book I wanted, and I won it. So she obviously gave me this, but it's signed. It's actually got a little thing. So it says, Amy, congratulations on winning my giveaway. I really hope you enjoy this book. Happy reading, Jessica. And she signed it. And I also got like a bookmark with it and a little thank you. And in my thank you, it's the same as, Amy, congratulations on winning my giveaway. And thank you so much for taking part and for the tours you did with my previous book. I hope you enjoy reading this book as much as I enjoyed writing it, Jessica. So yeah, I'm excited for this book too. Like, in all fairness, all of these books, doesn't matter which one wins, I think I'm going to enjoy them all. And this one is part of a series. It's part of a My ... self series. So this is My Dark Self, and it's to do with a psychopath. And I think it's the person's point of view as well. And I'm just like, oh yeah. So it says, my name is Jocelyn and I'm a psychopath. Actually, that's not technically true. Let me explain. My name is Alicia and I am a psychopath. There are two people in my body, but Alicia is dangerous and I can't control her anymore. But who or what is she? Also, why do I feel like I'm being watched? And why don't cats like me? So like you can see here, we have got two different people, and I love that one looks bad and one looks like trouble, but not in a bad way. And it's to do with a psychopath, and I'm sorry, but I think that's just going to be an awesome book to read. So I'm quite excited for this, if I'm going to be totally honest. Like, I'm quite excited for it. So I got a feeling if it doesn't win, I might stick it on my TBR anyway. And next up is Jigsaw Man. I actually got given I didn't get given an arc. I got an arc off someone because I really wanted the book, and they were like, "Do you mind if it's an arc?" I went, "No, it's, you know, I'm probably going to read it once." This is about. I think it's going to be like multiple POVs, but we've got a detective who is a detective in the serial crimes unit, and basically she needs to get help from a basically there's this serial killer called the Jigsaw Man, and I'll just read the synopsis out. Might as well. Are you ready to solve the riddle? It's time to meet the Jigsaw Man. When body parts start washing up along the banks of the River Thames, the serial crimes unit is called to investigate, and it quickly becomes apparent to D.I. Henley that there isn't just one victim, there are two. The murders are hauntingly familiar to Henley. The MO matches that of Peter Olivier, the notorious Jigsaw killer, but Olivier is already behind bars, and Henley was the one who put him there. Olivier is the last person Henley wants to see, but she needs his help. He might be their best chance to stop the copycat before more body parts start turning up. But when Olivier learns of the new murders, helping out Henley and the SCU is the last thing on his mind. All bets are off, and the race is on to catch the killer before the body count rises. But who will get there first, Henley or the Jigsaw killer? So I think we're going to have multiple POVs. I love the fact that we have if it is multiple POVs, I am really loving the fact that we might have one about a serial killer. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, it is. Yeah, so we have Olivier's point of view. Oh, I'm sorry, but having serial killers' point of views is messed up, but I love it. So that's another option. Now, just knowing that it is a serial killer's point of view, I really want to read that too. This is what happens when you read books and you're like, oh, I want to read that, I want to read that. And then next up is I Know What I Saw by Imran Mahmood. And this is very vague, but it says, I saw it, he smothered her, pressing his hands on her face, excuse me, the police don't believe me. They say it's impossible, but I know what I saw. And it says here, like, hypnotic and authentic, triumphantly reconfigures the traditional whodunit into something remarkable, startling, confident, and deft. A thrilling new voice in crime fiction, eye-opening, slick, and compulsive. You never read anything quite like this. Something genuinely different, masterful, timely, tense, and original, stunning. Like, it's quite vague. Now, this is definitely more of a crime thriller. I don't think it's got any spookiness to it, but I don't know. It says they say it's impossible, but I know what I saw, so maybe there is something to it. But this is probably the one I'm least drawn to, just because it's so vague and I don't really know where it's going to. So there are the 4, and I shall put up here which one won. But so far, actually, let me have a look, see if I can see if there's any votes happening so far. I got a horrendous sore throat. Has anybody voted? Oh, okay. So there are 2 votes already for 3 of the books, and then 1 that's currently winning. So, ooh. So the one that I want to win's not winning. Right, so editing me will put the winner up. But yeah. Oh, I actually still need to. Yes! Oh, we're doing well. Go back. So the next is favourite spooky author, which is the one that I struggled with because, like I said, I haven't read that many horror books to determine which author is my favourite. But I decided to go for Lock Every Door by Riley Sager, purely because I read Home Before Dark. I need to buy my own copy because I actually borrowed this from Hannah over at Bound by Crime, who's my book bestie. But I read that and I loved it. Like, all the way through, I didn't know how it ended. And when it ended, I was like, oh, because it ended in a way where you're thinking, you're really then starting to think, was this all true? Like, what went on? And then it was to do with a person in the end, but then something else happened and it was still a ghost involved. And you're like, maybe there were ghosts. And it was just that ending where you just constantly left you still wondering. Like, I still wonder to this day whether it was a haunted house or whether it was just this person doing the murders, sort of thing. But yeah, so I think after reading that, I certainly want to read more of Riley Sager's books, because after reading Home Before Dark, I loved it, and I'm like, ooh. But I know some books people don't like. I think, if I remember rightly, somebody on BookTube, I hope I've got this right, I think they said if you like Home Before Dark, Lock Every Door is another book to read because it's got a similar vibe. So this is a book that I've owned and I've been wanting to read it for ages. So I'm going to stick it in there because I think, purely by the first book I ever read by Riley Sager, I loved, and I certainly feel like I want to read all of his other books. Do I have? No, that's Grady Hendrix. I lie. Like, I really want to read Final Girls, but people say that's not brilliant. But I just like slasher books and slasher victims, and I don't know, I think I might like that book. But there's been a few like hit and misses with his books, but I think personally for me I probably will love them. So that's why we're going with Riley Sager, because I think he might be a fave, because I certainly want to read more, the rest of his books, to determine that. So on to what the book's about. It says, no visitors, no nights spent away from their apartment, no disturbing the other residents. These are the only rules for Jules Larson's new job as apartment sitter at the Bartholomew, one of Manhattan's most high-profile private buildings and home to the rich and famous. Recently heartbroken and practically homeless, Jules readily accepts the terms. When a neighbour confides the Bartholomew's dark history, Jules brushes it off as a harmless ghost story. But the next day, her new friend has vanished. And then Jules discovers that her friend is not the first resident to go missing. It says here, which is by Ruth Ware, move over Rosemary's Baby. Urban paranoia has a deliciously gothic new address. It says, it's too late to lock the doors. The horror is already inside. My favourite thriller of the year by R.L. Stine. So, come on. And then other reviews on here, it's like page turning, couldn't stop reading, left me wanting more, very atmospheric, creepy, suspenseful, nail biting. It's a book that you read through half closed eyes. Like, it's got that, I know it's a thriller, but it's got that spooky horror vibe to it, which I felt Home Before Dark did. Like, it's not a horror, but it was a spooky thriller in my thing, and I just feel like this is going to have the same vibes as that one. So we're going for that, and I'm really excited to read it. And then Nasty is a spooky book you've been putting off, and I'm so nervous. So it's The Troop by Nick Cutter. So Stephen King's blurb on here is, scared the hell out of me and I couldn't put it down, not for the faint-hearted. Now, I recently watched a booktuber do a vlog of this. I can't remember her name now, but I kept laughing because she's a mother and she was vlogging and her kids were so noisy, and she added, like, editing her, said, I'm so sorry, I didn't think my kids were that loud. And I just so resonate with her because I'm exactly the same with Alice. I tried to vlog when she's not here or when she's at her dad's or something because she's so noisy otherwise. So I like watching her, and I can't for the life of me remember her name now, which is going to annoy me. I'll put her picture up so we know. But she just recently read this, and she loves horror books, and she says, like, some of them can be same. She was freaked out by this book. She was disturbed by this book, and I'm there thinking, what have I got myself into? I think, just by what, I didn't want to watch all of her stuff because I don't want spoilers, but I think it's to do with bugs, particularly spiders, and I have a massive fear of spiders. So if we have some detailed bits about spiders, we already know I'm going to be creeped. But yeah, we're reading this and I'm so nervous. It's a book that I have had for a while, and it fits so brilliantly with horror prompts that I've done in the past for readathons, and I can't put myself to it. I just like, no, but we're doing it, and I have no idea how I'm going to cope. But it says, he felt something touch his hand, which is when he looked down. Like, can you imagine if that's a spider or something? Or any creepy crawly? Ugh. For the scouts of Troop 52, 3 days of camping, hiking and survival lessons of Falstaff Island is as close as they'll get to a proper holiday, which was when he saw it. But when an emaciated figure stumbles into their camp asking for food, the trip takes a horrifying turn. The man is not just hungry, he's sick in a way they had never seen before, which was when he screamed. Cut off from the mainland, the troop faces terror far worse than anything they could have made up around a campfire. To survive, they will have to fight their fears, the elements, and eventually each other. It says, as unsettling as Lord of the Flies, as shocking as The Thing, the troop will get under your skin. Never watched Lord of the Flies, or read it, or whatever, or the Thing. So, don't know what that is for those two, but I am so nervous. I am so nervous about this. This is going to be such a fun vlog to do, because I honestly think you're going to just see me creep the F out. But we're going for it, and it's a stunning cover. Like, yeah. So these are the definite books I am reading for this, and then we'll decide which spooky book to adaption I'm going to read, and also which one wins out the poll. So editing me will put those down. But yeah, if you're doing this readathon, do let me know and what books you are planning to read. Also let me know if you've read any of these books, and, like, you know, tell me what your thoughts were without spoiling it. But without further ado, I'm going to leave you to it. Look out for a vlog for this readathon, and yeah, take care of yourselves and I'll see you again soon. Bye!